All right, so we are talking about reproductive and urinary systems today. Let's see on the schedule, we're in November 9th through the 12th. So you'll have a quiz over respiratory and digestive system. I do want to make sure that you all know on the disease project, it does say poster, but it is a PowerPoint presentation or Google Slides presentation. You're going to have yourself kind of superimpose in the Zoom, so you're going to basically record yourself giving the presentation on Zoom, where I can see the presentation in most of the screen, and I kind of see you in the corner. So there's a couple ways to do that. You can kind of make the PowerPoint your background as you go through it. We can talk about that a little bit later, but just want to be clear that it is a Zoom presentation of you doing your PowerPoint, okay, or Google presentation. All right, so urinary system. So structures you need to know on the urinary system. These are the kidneys, okay, from the kidneys. All right, so their job is to filter your blood and create urine, and so that urine's going to travel through the ureter to the urinary bladder, okay, and from there, urine will exit through the urethra, okay. So kidney, ureter, urinary bladder, urethra, okay. Now, the structure of the kidney, inside what you need to know, okay. All right, so let's see. All right, so essentially the outer layer or more superficial layer of the kidney is the renal cortex. Okay. So these kind of pouches here, call those renal columns, and renal means kidney. Okay, so you see renal, talking about kidney. All right. And these little kind of triangle shaped or pyramid shaped items are the renal pyramids. Okay. The outer lining surrounding the cortex is the capsule. Okay. And where the urine goes into the ureter, that is the renal pelvis. Okay. So capsule, cortex, column, pyramid, pelvis. Okay. All right, so continuing on with the kidney, you can see that cortex again. Okay, it's inner layer, kind of where the pyramids are. We call that the renal medulla. Okay, so the cortex is the outer layer, medulla is the inner layer. Okay, darker layer, it's the medulla. And again, this area where the ureter feeds into the kidney. Okay, and you also have blood vessels going in there. That is the renal pelvis. We're going to look at that under higher magnification. Again, these are the structures that are in the cortex. All right, here's your structure that is in the medulla. All right, so in the cortex, we have structures called nephrons. And nephrons are our kind of filtration unit inside of your kidneys. Okay, inside your kidneys, you have nephrons. Okay, neph is another root word for kidney. So like a doctor, physician that works on the kidneys is a nephrologist. Okay, so the nephron is composed of a few structures. Okay, one structure here where you have these blood vessels right there, because again, we're filtering the blood, right? We're filtering your blood. get waste out, get fluid out, right? So you're trying to get the waste out of your body, also get fluid out so you can urinate. But that blood-filled capillary area there is called a glomerulus. Okay. All right, so coming off of that glomerulus, we have this capsule around it. We call that Bowman's capsule, B-O-W-M-A-N'-S, which feeds into what we call the proximal convoluted tubule, which is fancy language for proximal being closer to the base, right? So it's close to the base, it's convoluted, and it's windy, and it's a tube, right? So it's a proximal convoluted tubule. Okay, that tubule is going to extend into the medulla. We call this the nephron loop. Okay, then it's going to go back into the cortex to another convoluted area where it's winding. We call it the distal convoluted tubule. Okay, and fluid will then filter into what we call the collecting duct. So this is a collecting duct. So this collects your fluid and your waste. Okay, gets it out as urine. All right. All right, so here are a few cross sections of the kidney. So here are some glomeruli, that's plural. So all these little darker circles, those are the glomeruli. Each is a glomerulus, okay? That's what you're looking, that's a kind of characteristic so you know that this is a kidney. So these little circles, okay? It's a glomerulus. Okay, so the blood vessels are that your kidneys are filtering. All right. Here's a cross section of your ureter. And remember, your ureter is essentially routing urine from your kidneys down to your urinary bladder. So this is the area where that urine would be, okay? In the center. And it kind of has sort of like a four-leaf clover look to it, okay? All right, here's your urinary bladder. And how did I know it was a urinary bladder? Because it has transitional epithelium. Remember when we studied epithelium a few weeks back? Probably not, but that's okay. So when we studied epithelium, we learned that the transitional epithelium can change shape, okay? Because what does your urinary bladder do? It changes shape depending on whether or not it's full or not. So when it's not full, it's fluffy. Okay, and then when it's full, it gets more stretched out. Okay, but when you see this sort of pillowy structure, that's your transitional epithelium of your urinary bladder. Okay, so before we move on to the reproductive system, let's go ahead and take a break and talk with your partners at your tables about what you've learned about the various structures. We also have models at your tables that you can look at as well. And you can do this at home too. All right, so let's go on to reproductive system. All right, so structures that you need to know, okay? So, all right, so in the male reproductive system, here's that urinary bladder, okay? Just to kind of orient yourself. Okay, there's the ureter. Here's a seminal vesicle, okay? So fluid from that seminal vesicle will enter the ejaculatory duct, okay? And you also have the prostate or kind of around it, okay? And all right, so you also have essentially fluid from the urinary bladder also filtering down this way as well. Okay, you also have what we call a Vibrato Gland. Okay, so here with the testicles or the testes, so general area here, we call that the scrotum. Okay, and here's the testis. It's an individual. And surrounding or going around the testicle is the epididymis. Okay, so sperm are able to get from the testis, all right, out of the body through the Ductus Deferens. Okay, it's pathway called the Ductus Deferens. All right. And portion again of the male reproductive tract that goes out of the body is the penis. All right. So for female reproductive system, all right. So obviously, women have the ability to nurse, and so females have mammary glands, and milk can be released out of the mammary glands through the nipple. Okay, now as far as female reproductive system, we also need to know, again, here's the uterus. Okay, here's the ovary where the eggs are. Okay, so eggs can go through the ovary to the fallopian tubes to the uterus. Okay, and here you've got the cervix. Okay, open to the uterus. Okay, and you have the vagina here, and this is a kind of a reference. There's your urinary bladder and your urethra. Okay, the also have structure, which is the clitoris there, and labia, which is the opening to the external environment. So those are structures in the female reproductive system. All right, as far as reproductive cells, males have sperm cells, females have oocytes, or eggs. Okay, so again, this is an ovary. Within the ovary, here's an oocyte, okay, which is a female reproductive cell. Okay, and it goes through various stages of development. All right, so here, slide of the testis. Okay, so it's a cross section of the testis. So you have a circular structure here, and you've got kind of a fanned out structure in the middle. Okay, but that's the structure of the testis. Okay, these are individual sperm cells. Okay, flagella. Okay, allow them to move. Okay, here's an ovary. You can see individual oocytes. You can see kind of that nucleus there in the oocytes. Kind of help you to find them. Okay, within the ovary. Okay, ovary has sort of an egg shape to it, so you can kind of distinguish it from other tissues. But you can see the oocytes in it as well to differentiate it. All right. So those are structures in the female reproductive system that you will need to know. Okay. So I'll give you all a few moments to look over that. We've got some torso models. We also have some cross sections around the room that you can look at to find the structures of the male and female reproductive systems. All right, you can do this at home as well. And we are going to end the video. All right. Or at least stop the recording.